What is up? It's your boy Johnny Shreve, aka Mr. Tell Like It Is, with the 2024 Miss Olympia wrapped right up, and Chris Bumstead retired. Who is going to precede Chris Bumstead? I'm gonna go through the top lineup of this year's 2024 Classic Physique first callouts. We're gonna see who potentially can be Chris Bumstead's predecessor. Okay guys, so first before we get into this, understand that I am a nationally qualified judge, so I have judged before and I do understand how to judge physiques. So I want to go through this video and give you guys a better understanding of like why they placed the way they did. Now, I'm obviously not any of the judges on the Olympia panel. Those are some of the best, if not the actual best judges you can have judging these shows. Plus, I'm looking at it through someone's camera or phone when the judges are going to be around like 6 feet in front of the athletes. It makes a massive difference when you're actually there in person because you can see all of the muscle twitches. You can see all the movements in real time. There's always going to be a little bit of a lag or a delay or not as much of that high definition look that you're going to get in person than what you get from a camera. So I'm going to do my best to kind of break this thing down to you and give you guys my opinion of who I believe was going to be C-Bum's predecessor. So big up to Finesse Classic Olympia 2024. Thank you Integral TV for this video. So all the props to these guys. Go watch this video. It's a very, very good quality video. Now, here's the rest of your lineup, right? We have our top 4, then we have our 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. When we have a lineup like this, guys, and we're actually looking at judging, we're looking at this when you have 6 in this group. The 6 in this group mean first and second are going to be in the middle, right? Third and fourth, fifth and sixth. That's how this works. And right now, Wesley Viser is on the outside. I'm going to watch some of this call out right now. Now, I want to show you guys some glaring obvious is that reason why Wesley Viser just isn't a match for any of those top 4 guys. When he's by himself and on other shows, yeah, for sure, he looks absolutely amazing. Got a small waist and, wide shoulders, but there's a lot more of his physique that he just doesn't have. So we're gonna zoom into that. Right now, guys, right, we have our top 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. I wanna zoom over to Wesley Viser. Number 1 in this, Wesley, just from his look, isn't lean enough, right? Very bubbly, very big. It looks like he pushed more of the size, but you have to look at his physique. Yes, he has nice big lats, but do you not see how blocky his waist is? This is a blocky waist compared to, let's just watch the rest of these guys. All right, they just switched him into the middle. So I just want to watch, I want you guys to look at everyone's, let's get them in their poses first, right? They're waiting for their first call out pose. All right, we have our front double bicep, right? Guys, when you're, just for you, for any of you guys that are getting into bodybuilding, get into your pose right away, right? I had this really good, really awesome, I had this like crazy tip from Chris Cormier. Chris Cormier was telling me back in the day that he was sitting with one of the Weeder brothers, flex in the mirror. And he told, this is Weeder telling Chris Cormier, and Chris Cormier telling me this story. And he's like, flex in the mirror. And he's like, okay, he's flex. He's like, watch your muscles grow. And Chris is telling me like when he's flexing, he's just literally watching his muscles come to life. The point Weeder was making was when you get into your pose right away, the blood starts to rush into that place that you're posing, right? Your entire body, when you're flexing, you're basically like, you're in an isometric hold and blood starts to get in the area, right? You're basically like sitting like this. When you're in that pose right away, you're letting everything expand. So while everybody else is doing this and then, this and getting into their pose and finally getting in their pose, you are in your pose and your muscles have already started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Wesley Viser does an absolutely amazing job doing that. He's already in his pose, but let's lock it in and just look at right now. Look at the waists we have, right? First of all, conditioning is going to be a big thing right now. The reason why Wesley Viser is on the outside is because conditioning. He's in the top 10 because of structure, shape, muscularity, all that good stuff. He has a good look, but conditioning, that's why he's on the outside. If you zoom right in, this is what we have. Now, I want you guys to look at structure-wise, right? I want you guys to look, now, judges, we're looking from feet up, right? You got a piece of paper and you're doing this. Your eyes are traveling from feet all the way up, feet all the way up, feet all the way up. That's all you're doing. You're here, you're doing this. The first thing you're gonna see, feet, calves, quads, core, and then the rest. When we look at the guys on the end, quad shape, right? Moving in. Look at the quad sweep. Quad sweep is basically like when your quads from the outside have that bubble shape, right? They're basically like bubbling the outside, and that's what completes your X frame. Your quad sweep, your lats, right? So you're looking at going from the inside. Look at Brianna Ainsley Look at his quad sweep. So let's move in Brandon Angley. Let's watch next guy here. Look at his quad sweep. So much they bubble out. Look, even this guy's quads. You see they bubble out. Wesley, there's not much that's there. Yeah, his legs are big, but his quads don't bubble out. And then we go from the quads. Okay, let's go back up to the top. Let's go to the waist. He's got a blocky waist. He's done a really good job building his lats, you know, for shape wise, but he's got a blocky waist. Now let's go this side for conditioning, size wise. Great, but conditioning, guys, he's not there. Look at the legs. He's like, you're looking at lines here, guys. When I'm talking conditioning, let's go into this in the middle here. And again, guys, I'm freeze framing a lot of this. So when you're in person, you're seeing all the muscles moving. You're seeing everything move. Everything's alive. When you're watching guys get into their poses, right, and then me pausing, you can't see, but you'll see it from the back. Watch the glutes from the back here. Glutes, striated glutes, striated glutes. And you can see he gets exposed from the back. When he steps from the back, plus his posing is, for me, atrocious from the back. He's doing himself no justice having this really narrow stance, especially if you have smaller quads. You want to make your stance a little bit wider, moving this foot out slightly, and then externally rotating so the quad sweeps are sitting on the outside a lot more. You can see how much he gets exposed, right? His back is good here, but you can see where his legs don't match up. The guy next to him's legs dominate him. And moving in, he's a lot leaner. He should be posing and externally rotating a little more and moving on and so on. You can see the difference. So now let's look at right away. Let's pause right away. Right away, they're getting Chris Bumstead in the middle. They're like, right away, just get him in. He looks good already. They've already seen him in their individuals. So they already have an idea of who's there. And they're going to want to judge everybody around Chris. They're not going to waste any time. They're going to put Chris right in the middle. Just looking at Chris, just stand, bam, 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 look at him. Everyone's in their pose, in their front relaxed pose. Let's look, okay? Now let's watch everybody get into their first pose. Front double bicep. Right away. Mike the Badass gets in his pose right away. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Mike the Badass is going to be the next guy. 100%. Right away, you look at Mike the Badass. Mike does a great job tilting his hips a bit while maintaining great symmetry from his legs all the way up. Most guys, when they try and do the twist, they lose shape. They lose a little bit of shape or size in their legs, and it throws their upper body off a bit. He's the first guy in his pose. He's got the smallest waist up there, right? Let's watch everybody in their pose. Let's get, wait, there you go. So you have Dino's in his pose. They're all in their poses. Look at the shape of Mike, right? From the bottom all the way up. His quads are better than Chris Bumstead's. And he pushed Chris Bumstead out here. Chris C-Bum, he pushed C-Bum real close here. Look at his waist shape. Look at his rib cage shape. He looks great with the vacuum, and then moving up, his lats flow right into his arms, and he probably has the best shape arms on the stage for his shape from top to bottom. We can look at Urs, right? Urs does a good job. He's great, but again, I wouldn't even have this haircut. To me, it's distracting. But if you look at from the bottom up, he's trying to do the pose and he's not doing the pose, right? In terms of slightly maneuvering and tilting the hip a bit to create that, that look, that, classic look. He's trying it a bit, but he's not bringing it out as much to really bring his legs and show the best of his legs. And you look at his rib cage. Look at the difference between his rib cage and Dino's rib cage. Dino's ribs in this pose are great, and his little waist comes all the way up, and he's the only guy that can actually do this pose with his core engaged or without doing a true vacuum and really nice and holding this shape. The problem with Dino is, I know, because I understand when it comes to posing, because I'm a great poser. I'll say that. And I coach posing. When I see guys and they do this, and it's because they don't know how to engage their lats while maintaining their arms to come up. When I do this, see what his arms are kind of shaping down? Instead of them being either straight across like this, they're kind of like this because that's how it helps him activate his lats here. And you see a lot of guys, a lot of influencers try and do the poses and they're like this, and they're trying to like bring out their lats because that's how they do it. Because the further up their arms go, they start losing their lats. A lot of guys do it, and a lot of guys expose themselves also in their training. If I'm like this, how big do my lats look, like this or like this? You can see the difference, right? Here or here. What's bigger, here or here? He arguably in this pose without having to engage his core looks amazing here. The only thing is when he does engage his core, and you'll see when he does his thigh up ab pose, you'll see he's got a very awkward looking core. Now, Again, back to Mike the Badass. Look at his shape. This is unbelievable shape. Arguably, this is a hard ass time for the judges. If I'm a judge, I'm just like what a shoot. You know what I mean? Like, we can look at this pose. Now it comes to like size, shape, symmetry, conditioning. They're almost one-to-one posing. Let's go to the next pose. Now this is when Chris says, see you guys. Like, hey, thanks for coming out. My bad, guys, but I just got to do this to you. His transition is showing striated glutes all the way to his daggone hip flexors. Look at everyone else getting through their pose. When I'm a judge and I'm watching, that's why transitions are important, right? Get smooth transition into your pose. Every pose so far, Mike the Badass has been in his pose. Every single pose so far. Boom. Great job everyone's doing. Now you can see the difference in conditioning from each guy, and you can see why they are where they're at. The conditioning from the front, Urs just doesn't have it. Neither does Dino, right? You move in, you're seeing striations all the way from chest, like right from the sternum all the way to the arm, right? Both him and Chris. You're looking at their obliques, same thing. Leg size, Mike's got him, right? On that side pose. But conditioning, Chris has him, edges him out a little bit. But conditioning and shape and size, they're very much almost the same. Like the same terms of like level wise. Let's watch Mike the Badass, right? Taking more time to get in there, he's in there. But again, right, let's look at conditioning. Everybody. This is where Chris Bumstead wins. He's got great shape in his back, but posing wise, right, Chris is able to get on both glutes. We lose a full glute over here. Now that doesn't say that as a judge you're like, oh, he's not conditioned because only one glute's engaged. But when you're looking at when the eyes are drawn to symmetry and shape, beauty, all those things, the eyes are drawn to that. So right away, when I'm a judge looking and I'm seeing, okay, Mike looks great, awesome, he deserves to be there. But I'm looking at Chris, I'm like, look, we're talking about symmetry, we're talking about top to bottom, left to right. Chris on that side kills it, right? So again, these two in the middle, absolutely amazing. Let's watch them in the next poses, right? So here, great, we turn around. We're thigh abdominal. Now this is where I gotta make comment about Dino. Dino's core is different looking, right? Amongst the rest of these guys, see how different, it's not pleasing to look at. So when you're a judge, you're like, same with Urs. We're not, Urs doesn't have like a weird looking core, but look at both Chris and Mike getting into their poses. Chris is a vet. Chris's legs are already on, and you can already see the striations in his obliques, right? Getting in there and boom. Now, everyone's crunched down. Who has the best core right now? I don't care if you're a Chris Bumstead fan, you gotta say Mike. Mike has the best core all the way through, and he keeps it on the entire time. Well, everybody right away gets right into they know that their core isn't good in that pose, so they're gonna vacuum it right away. When you have real good abs, I don't care if you're classic physique, you're going to show those abs as hard as you possibly can. And Mike is doing that. He's showing, look how much conditioning he has on the sides, his quads, everything is there, everything. A little bit of splitting in there in the middle, and he can, reduce that by this not pushing the gear too much or the GH. Arguably the best core right there. Now, Urs has a great core as well too. The only thing is his core isn't as detailed from the obliques. Now, your classic physique pose, this is the pose that shows like how classic are you. Now, he's doing, for me, this isn't the pose, right? For Mike. This isn't the pose for me at all, because that is a bodybuilding pose, right? This is a classic Dorian Yates pose. So when it comes to classic physique posing, I'd like to see him do something like this. But what he does show is how much symmetry he has, how wide he is. Look at the detail. If we were there in person, you'd be like, oh my God, because every time they move, you'd see all this, everything come to life up here from top to bottom. He's got a great pose from here. Mike is confident. He looks great. Chris Bumstead just doing his classic pose, and it's lights out. I don't care who you are, guys, up here. This is Chris's pose. Chris' pose dominates, right? Urs is trying it. Just doesn't work for Urs, right? It would be better if they find their own pose. Maybe if they did something classic like this instead, like this one would be good. And guys, when you're doing this pose, it's not this. It's creating a line from here to here. You can see the line. If you see the line from here going down to the other elbow from here. So I like the way Dino's hitting this. He's hitting low and kind of pulling up a little bit. I like Dino's posing, but again, if Dino would, you know, tighten up a little bit more. I don't think Dino's got that conditioning that is going to keep him in the top 5, but not push him to winning the show. If he would just, he's got to come in lights out peeled, and then, you know what I mean? And then he's really making some moves. But he will be for sure always a top 5 if he keeps this kind of conditioning, right? Waiting for their pose. Right away, he's in his pose waiting, right? And this is the thing too. While Chris is sitting there waiting for their pose and they're judging, right? And they're going to be done here anyway. But look what Mike's doing. Mike is like, yo, look at me again. Look at me again. Look at my shape. Look at my size. Look at my conditioning. He's taking ownership of that stage next to 6-time Mr. Olympia, classic Olympia, Chris Bumstead. That's the kind of guy that you know for sure, knows that he's right there and knows that he can actually edge him out. And I know when he saw those scores, he's like, I'm right there. And he is, right? This is one of those guys who did pretty good this year. And next year, he's not going to, you know, no, this guy has improvements to make. That when he makes improvements, where are the improvements that he's going to make? Like getting his chest a little more fuller, especially on the inside. So just like, you're not going to do anything that's going to make just your inside of your chest fuller. It's just about overall getting the chest a little more muscle tissue there. So let's watch him again get into their pose. He's ready right away. Look at it. This is the pose you look at to kind of measure everyone. Look at his legs. Quad sweeps are massive. Small waist on the stage. Great sucking it in. Look at his conditioning. You see the conditioning on his rib cage for F's sakes. Look at his lats. The difference between Mike and Chris is just size, right? That's why the height advantage makes a massive difference. Chris still looks dominant, period. Chris looks dominant. There's a reason why Chris has 6, right? If Mike can come in with the improvements that, you know, and make those improvements, he 100% will be another guy that's going to win over and over and over and over again. You can see it's hard for, like, as a judge, and I'm in all the things that I'm looking at right now, and I'm like, yo, man, like I'm pretty accurate at what I'm looking at. When I look at this side pose here, I'm just like, I'm just like, guy, lights out. Sorry, that's it. My score will be one of the scores they throw, because they throw the high and the low score from each competitor, and then they get the remainder of the pose of the scores. But just this pose here alone, it's such a dominant pose for Chris. Now take Chris out of the picture, and now Mike is dominant for the rest of those guys, right? If we just dice out Chris, it's over for the rest of these guys. Look at this. He looks amazing. Mike the Badass is going to be the guy that comes in. Look, he's posing it better than the side, right? These are the shots that are basically cementing these scores right now. They're like, okay, let me see these guys on both sides now. They didn't move Urs or Dino. They're like, these are the 2 guys we're looking at. Look at these poses. He is the most classic guy up there when it comes to how he poses, his shape, his poise. Great pose from Chris. Nothing like doing a twisted front double bicep, reminiscent of Arnold Schwarzenegger, for everyone else to be like, that reminds me of Arnold. You just can't not think of Arnold when you see Chris do that pose. He's holding that pose. When I look at this pose, all I see is, look how small the waist is, look how wide the shoulder is. If he makes a little bit more improvements on his delts, a little bit more on his chest. So what I believe who's going to be the next C-bum, or just their own person, but going to carry the torch, it's going to be Mike the Badass. Anyway, guys, hope that gives you a little more insight of judging and how this went. And, you know, if you agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. But if you don't agree with me, I want to know the reasons why. You can't just be like, nope, Dino, I like him, or no, Urs, you got to, after what I've showed you right now, I want you guys in the comment section, if you disagree with me, you got to be like, Urs, and then why? If he's conditioning, does this and this and that, or whatever it is, I think he'll be better than Mike the Badass. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you're looking to get some coaches and posing coaching yourself, or just coaching by me, guys, hit the link in the description below, johnnystreetfitness.com. Jump on a call with me and see if we're a good fit and smash these goals together. Anyway, guys, till next time, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.
greatest, 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 greatest.